All right, welcome to the Expert Branding DIY Mentoring. This is the outline, so to speak. I'll go into greater detail on this later, but so this is the initial video about helping mentors create their branding and establishing themselves as an expert. Now, to cover everything in full detail that it would need to make sure you would know how to do all of it, this video would be like 15 hours. So this is the outline. We'll talk about all the components you need, and we'll go into a couple of them a little bit more in detail just so you'll have something to get started. But because all of you are going to have different skills and different areas that you've already developed, there'll be separate videos for each aspect that we're going to talk about with this general outline. And you can watch those when you bump into something you're unfamiliar with or not sure how to do on your own and how to develop and grow your business. So first thing we want to look at is some of the core problems that mentors face. One is establishing yourself as an expert. Two is creating the social proof that helps do that. And three is the marketing and beyond. These are the three things you need to really grow your business as a mentor to get more clients. As I said before, this video is a summary. We will have individual training videos for everything in it, and we also offer services to provide any of these things for you. So if you need editing for your book, we can provide that. If you need ghostwriting for the book, we can do that. As far as brainstorming and outlining the book, the most we can offer you there is consultation, because you need to do those. But so know that some of these things may feel overwhelming. You can hire those processes out to us. So let's talk about just establishing yourself as an expert. One of the number one things you want to do is write a book, publish it, and you'll also want to produce an audiobook. And we will talk in more detail about why that is, but you can leverage that for interviews a lot easier than just a book. And it's great for generating reviews. So like I said, we'll go into that in more detail. The second thing you want to do is develop a program. It needs to be a very clear program. You'll want to have some literature, images, and a presentation behind that program. And in the program development video, we will go into much greater detail, of course. But one of the really key points in the program is more than just having an effective program that helps people. They need to feel like they're being helped in the initial stages. And that's a really key point, to have an effective program to get clients to commit to long-term mentoring with you. We will talk about book covers, and we will talk about images. Here, we look at the bestsellers on Amazon and happiness. These people are clearly seen as experts, and it's using this book as a springboard to establish yourself as an expert is a lot of how people grow business. A lot of people within the mentoring and the self-help industry, they don't write a book to be a bestseller. They write a book to grow their other business aspects. And so that's definitely one of the things we're going to be looking at, because once you have a book and the book is doing well, that serves as evidence of your expertise and your organization of your ideas. Social proof is the next thing we want to talk about. How are you getting reviews for your book, and how are you getting reviews for your program? We want to talk about the difference between a review and a testimonial. Testimonials, what you're really looking for is not just another review. A lot of times these terms are used interchangeably. But what you're looking for is a story that addresses a certain principle in your book that teaches people from someone who's read it or tried your program, or a story that is designed to address a certain concern. Tim Grahl talks about the power of telling stories in his book, Your First 1,000 Copies, and he mentions that he has a firm that promoted books and helped people get on bestseller lists and different things like that. And he tells a story that he was dealing with a client who said that he'd narrowed it down to Tim's firm and another firm, and the other firm was cheaper. And so the guy sat down with him and he said, why would we go with you if they're cheaper? And instead of answering logically, explaining the finer details of his program, he chooses to tell a story. This is the concern the client had. You're more expensive. And the story he tells is that the client, that he had a client 6 months ago that had come down to the same choice between these two, and they had gone with the other firm. And 3 months later, they were so frustrated with the results that they were getting that they ended up hiring Tim's firm and spending nearly twice as much because they hired two firms. And while Tim's was slightly more expensive, and then he directed the client to the glowing reviews that client had given him after that frustrating experience with the other firm. And that story is how he resolved that concern. And so when we talk about testimonials, that's what you're looking to develop, is gathering the kinds of stories that either strengthen the principles you're trying to teach and share, or that will help resolve concerns that come up with specific people. And so that's something you're going to want to be looking for. And then, of course, interviews work as social proof as well. Podcast, radio, television. And we will talk about getting on all of these. But I'll mention podcasts specifically here. And that is because podcasts are incredibly specific in the audience that they target. And there are so many of them that oftentimes they're desperate for interviews. I myself am a podcaster, and I put a lot of work into finding people, contacting them, and then organizing the interview, that it would just be a godsend if they would contact me and do that instead of me having to do all of that work up front. So once you've got your book out and your audio, you can start hitting up these podcasts, be like, hey, I have this book, I've got all these reviews, and I'd love to come on your show and talk about it. And we'll talk about preparing a segment piece, and basically this is something that you pitch at the interviewer as a way to give them a reason to pick you over someone else. So we talk about reviews as a form of social proof already. And within this social proof, you need to get out of obscurity. So within the separate videos, we'll talk more about getting up, setting interviews, and whatnot. We'll talk about blogging, where to get that material, and the SEO, getting that to get more backlists. How to build an email list. We'll do some walkthroughs with some services that we use and make some recommendations there. We'll talk about cross promotion, just make sure that you're blending with the other people in your area that you're focusing. We'll talk about social media, using groups and Twitter, and just growing everything there. So we will talk about how to get on the front page of Google. We actually partner with a company that, while the front page of the Google search is actually relatively difficult to get onto, the front page of the video section of Google is actually fairly easy to get onto with the right algorithms. And the interesting thing is, and I think almost everybody does this, is when I Google something, the Google page brings up all the results. The first thing I do is then click on the videos, because usually it's just easier to watch a video on something than to try to skim through an article. And so if you'll notice, these videos are all based on, I picked this book to show you. He was on the top seller here. These are his reviews. And here he is on the front page of Google in the video section. So we will talk about creating an expert interview video. And then, like I said, we partner with a company that can get you page one, and usually within the top 5 slots of Google. So we'll talk about other elements of marketing in social media, not just leveraging the free parts of it, but running ads, doing conversions and split testings and giveaways, and how to use that, and finding your target audience within different platforms, because depending on who your market is, you may want to spend more time in different areas of social media. So here just some charts from Twitter and Amazon, looking at what's working and whatnot. We'll talk about breaking down and analyzing that in the video on those. So let's go a little more in depth here. So you've got some depth to begin. Your book is your business card. And it's like, as I mentioned earlier, it's evidence that you know what you're talking about, yet they're organized and driven. And it can be a tool for bringing in clients, because some people will pick up the book because the title or the blurb or the ad resonates with them, and then they'll come to you after having read it. Or you will be able to have that, whether you're at a conference or something, you'll have a group's, a stack of books. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're trying to sell books, but people can see that, and it's an important part of recognizing you as an expert in the field. If you have enough knowledge to fill out an entire book on the thing you're talking about, you clearly know what you're talking about. So we will show you how to get the first draft done in a week. In fact, some of the clients we work with, we will finish a first draft in a day, in just between 6 and 9 hours. You can crank out that first draft. So that's a weekend, for 9 hours. We'll show you how to find an editor or to do your own editing. We'll talk about the book cover, the elements that go into that, or how to find a designer. And the blurb and its importance, and prepping an Amazon sales page or whatever platforms you're putting your book out on, and creating an audiobook, as I mentioned before. So this is an Amazon sales page. Here we see the cover, the title, and the blurb. The blurb is really important because if people have gotten this far, then your title and your cover has interested them. Because if you're running an ad or just posting up on Twitter and Facebook, they already know what the cover looks like. They already know what the title is, and they've seen your ad copy, and all of that has interested them. But this blurb right here, you can lose the sale at that point. So it's definitely something we will talk a lot about and go into as far as, getting your book to sell. So here's the interesting thing about this guy, is establishing himself as an expert. Here's his book on Amazon. He's got 4.5 stars. He's got 2,000 customer reviews. But if we just do a general research for him, he doesn't exist on Wikipedia. It asked me if I mean somebody else. We don't know anything about his education, his background. Just about any college professor can get on Wikipedia with their publications. My point is that his expertise and his background is not something we can search up on the internet. But when you see his book, you see the reviews, the ratings, you clearly think he's an expert on what he's talking about. And that is such a powerful tool in the mentoring field as you build your business. So many people, maybe they've never heard of you, but if they can look up your book and they can look up your website, they will feel like you know you and see you as an expert, even if they haven't encountered you before. Your book is your business card. It's how you get people to contact you about your business instead of you having to hunt them down all the time. It's how you get new clients. And the beautiful thing is you only have to write it once, right? I know so many mentors trying to launch their business who can constantly saying, I need to get my book done. I got to get it done. And they just can never get it around to it. And we're going to talk about right now how to really make this process easy. So we're going to skip the break, and I'm just going to go ahead and press through. So 1 week to first draft. So when we were setting this up, what we did is we found a mentor, and we wanted that's been trying to get his book done forever. And we wanted to walk him through this process to see how quickly we could do it. So on Monday, we called him and we talked to him about starting the process. He agreed. We started on Tuesday, and on Friday, he held not the first draft of his book, but the first round of revisions from his editor. That's 4 days later. He's holding those revisions, and he's ready to get cranking on cleaning it up and really getting it ready to publish. So this is a quote from our client, Mr. Mitchell. He says, I couldn't believe it. It was so fast. It was scary, but I loved it. And I even remember when we sat down and started recording, he was like, whoa, I just didn't expect it to be this fast. I was like, well, we've done the brainstorm. We've done the outline. You are ready to start. So let's just do it. And so it was a pretty intense moment for him. So in Write Your Book in a Week, again, we look at the problems people face in starting the writing process. One, not thinking they know enough to write a book, and not organizing in a way that they can write a book quickly. So we're going to address these two. The first is the brainstorm. This is how you get out every idea and every story you have that you want to put in your book. And what you do is you just throw it out there, order, none of that matters. Just write it down as fast as you can. Just get it onto paper. Then once you have all that down, we have a template on the website that you can use. And it will show you how you want to outline an introductory chapter, principal chapters, and your conclusion. And then you take your ideas and you plug them into the outline. And as many chapters as you need to, you can just copy that outline, that section of the outline, and then you plug it in. And there will be gaps. And so once you take everything from the brainstorm, you plug it into the outline, you then go in and you fill in the gaps so that it's completely fleshed out. And you want to make sure that there's enough detail in each of these so that you fully know, because what we're going to have you do is, instead of writing your book, we're going to have you speak it. And I'll talk about a little of that in just a second here. But yeah, so you fill it in. And usually at this point, I recommend people take a break of at least a day or two. And the reason for that is it just kind of lets you gestate on all the ideas and stuff that you've thought about. And maybe within those next days, you'll think about, oh, I should have put this in there, or I should have put this in there. And so then you can go back through as those ideas come up, and you can plug those in, and maybe you'll add a chapter or two, or just a story or two that you want to tell to illustrate your principles. And once the outline is filled out, we move to the next phase, which is writing it in a B. So once the template's totally full, then we move into speak your book. Usually it takes between an hour to 2 hours to do a good brainstorm, and then another hour or 2 hours to do an outline. And the reason we're going to have you speak your book is, for one, some people are fairly intimidated by writing. And two, the average professional writer will do between 800 and 1,000 words in an hour. People can speak between 5,000 and 8,000 words in an hour. And usually, for your first little book, you want to crank it out really quickly. About 20,000 words or more is the real target here. And what that usually ends up being is between 1 and 3 hours, more like 2 to 3 hours of content. And so that's what you're going to want to plan for your recording time there, is about 3 hours. So I usually say day 1 is brainstorm outline. Day 2 is, any ideas that have come to you since then. Day 3, you sit down and you record. And there are services like Dragon, or even Google has a Speak It. But with those, you're having to speak the punctuation, speak the new paragraphs. Sometimes they're not great about picking out what you're saying, and it can get messy. But if you send it to a transcription service, they will give you perfect grammar, or at least a good one will. They will take out all the ums and the uhs, and you don't have to worry about saying period, new paragraph, or missing those, because they will take care of all of that for you. We have used Rev in the past, and they've been great. I've loved their work. But if you just Google, transcription service in general, you can find others and do some price comparisons and whatnot. But yeah, and they usually within 24 hours, sometimes within a couple days, and then they will get you your manuscript back. And that's it. That is you writing your book. And so if you follow that program, day 1, you brainstorm and you fill out the template. Day 2, you just kind of fill in whatever ideas come to you. Day 3, you record and send it to transcription. Then day 4, you get manuscripts back. So that's 4 days, as I mentioned, to get that manuscript. Now, with our guy, he then sent it to the editor at the beginning of day 4 and got it back before the end of day 4, which is how he got that edited version. So the transcription service can really help you crank out material. So like I said, here's the program, super fast and easy to get everything cranked out and within 4 days. So as I said before, there are templates on the website and there are trainings. Now, this is the introductory video. And if you've tried to get into that, you'll see that they're password protected. You don't have to be a member. We're not charging a monthly fee. This is all free. All you have to do is sign up for the email list. And in it, we will update you on discounts on our services. We will let you know when there's a new video. For example, if somebody has a question that isn't answered in the specific training videos we've set up, we will go back and we either do a new video or we will add that into the existing video to make sure that we address everybody's questions and concerns, so that really is a full do-it-yourself program. As you can see, I've been writing that backwards quite a lot. I don't know why. That's how my brain thinks about it. So as far as going out and finding and testing editors and everything, that will all be covered in another video. So that's the summary of the video here. I wanted to cover the write your own video in this open one, because writing your book in a week, because it is so essential, and it's really the first step to get you going. So if you're interested in the specific training videos, in all the summary stuff that I talked about as we went through, you know, whether it be the social proof or the getting out of obscurity, setting up interviews, all of that is on the website. All you have to do is sign up for the mailing list, and then we will email you the password, and you can access all of that video content there, and we will let you know when we have new videos on something. Like some of the areas are we have to hire or bring in somebody else to do it, like particularly the videos on how to edit a video are really quite difficult, and we really do want to bring in a big expert to show you how that works. Yeah, so the expert interviews are a great tool to do it. But yeah, so check it out, and we are working on not necessarily creating a podcast, but we are working with some mentoring podcasts to have a monthly segment where they will talk about the do-it-yourself mentoring and some of the tools we're developing here. So thanks for your time, and yeah, feel free to check out the website. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a link there. If you are watching this on the site itself, then there should just be a link to sign up for the email off to the side, and you can do that right there and then start accessing the rest of the content. We did just want to keep this short, more of an outline than anything else. And on the site, there will be a template for kind of I would say a blueprint or a map, just kind of where to go and where to start. Also, along with training videos, we do videos of our clients. We record all the sessions with them, and if they give us the approval, we will share those on the site as well. So outside of just a training video on the things you need to do, there will be the option to watch somebody go through the process to maybe clear up any confusion that took place in the training video. So check that out, and if this interests you and maybe some of the other people you know, let them know. We have a Twitter page, and we've got YouTube, and you can follow us there and see what's new and the new stuff coming out, and share it with your friends.